Welcome to Beyond Your Balance Sheet from the Sedora Group of Steward Partners Global Advisory. I'm Laura Canoy. Beyond Your Balance Sheet is a conversation series that offers a wide look at well-being. The Sedora Group is sponsoring this program as part of its larger goal to help clients achieve fulfilling lives. As planners, they offer financial guidance and expertise, but they also recognize the need to pay attention to mind, body, heart, and soul. In this episode, we learn more about a growing movement in the field of mental health called Mental Health First Aid. Our guest is Suzanne Weedy, Community Education and Engagement Manager at Community Partners, which is a regional provider of mental health, developmental, and family support services. Suzanne is also a founding member of the Dover Mental Health Alliance, a grassroots coalition dedicated to mental health, wellness, stigma elimination, and suicide prevention, located in Dover, New Hampshire. And Suzanne is an adult, youth, and teen mental health first aid trainer, as well as a suicide prevention trainer. A big welcome, Suzanne. It's always nice to talk to you.
Hi, Laura. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to talk to you always.
So, how is mental health first aid like and unlike regular first aid, Suzanne?
Right. So, mental health first aid is literally first aid for mental health. So, when you think of like first aid for physical ailments, you think of how to bandage a wound or how to, stop the bleeding or how to, mobilize an elbow or whatever. This is similar to that. However, it's specific to your mental health. And so it's something that we all can learn and we can all take part in. You don't have to be a doctor, but you can learn how to recognize and respond to someone who may be in emotional distress. And you can give them that first aid type help to get them to the appropriate help that they need.
So is mental health first aid only about addressing crises, the mental health equivalent of a heart attack, or is there a continuum of needs, Suzanne, that mental health first aid training can help with?
That's a great question, Laura. It definitely is a continuum. So we want, during the class, when you learn about this training, what you learn is really how to recognize and respond to someone in emotional distress. And you might be seeing like the very initial stages of someone that's actually developing a mental health challenge. And if you can observe those changes or things that are going on, you really can potentially help someone avoid a crisis. Obviously, the class also gets into crisis situations as well. But again, one of these things with mental health challenges is if we can just really stop someone from developing a crisis, get them the help they need early on, then they can recover quicker and be healthier faster.
So it really deals with the whole continuum. Someone maybe having a little bit of trouble to, a full-blown problem, Suzanne.
Correct. Exactly. And, it could be, so you learn in the class how to actually recognize and respond to someone, how to speak to them, how to get them help. Maybe you have to just keep checking in on them because maybe they're not ready to get help at that particular moment. And that's fair. That happens. To actually when someone is having a full-on crisis, whether it could be a substance use disorder or a crisis regarding substance use, or maybe a full-on panic attack or something like that, then you learn, okay, what do I do? What do I say? Who do I get involved right at this moment? Because you want to make sure that person's safe.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about what I might call the fear factor, Suzanne, keeping the person safe. Let's say I want to help, but I'm afraid I might say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing and maybe make the situation worse. So how do you get around that?
That's a great question too. And I think a lot of adults in particular might be fearful of that because we already have our own preconceived notions about maybe what mental health challenges are and things like that. This class really teaches you how to listen non-judgmentally. Believe it or not, we have our own things in our background sometimes that might inhibit or prohibit things we do or say. So it really teaches one how to listen non-judgmentally, to say the things that are going to provide assurance and reassurance and actually really give a person hope that they can recover from this mental health challenge or crisis. So it's really a great program for anyone. You do not have to be a licensed social worker or a therapist to do this class. I am not a licensed social worker or therapist. I do not have those type of credentials. I'm a mom, and I really, I think that we need to look at mental health challenges as a health problem. And so if I see someone that needs help, I'm going to say something in a way that's going to show empathy and compassion, and then hopefully help them to get the help they need so that they can feel better.
A couple questions, Suzanne, about the training itself. We talked earlier, and I told you that I am a part-time lifeguard at my local YMCA. So obviously, I have all the first aid training that gets updated every year.
Yeah.
And in first aid, there are very specific steps you're supposed to take when you enter an emergency scene. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Is it the same way with mental health first aid, where there are very specific steps that you're supposed to take in order?
Yeah, that's a great question, Laura. It's similar in that there are steps. We actually have this acronym that sort of reminds us of the steps. It's called ALGEE, ALGEE.
We have similar acronyms in first aid. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So there's steps, and it just helps you remember what kind of things to look for, and what to do. And there are things like how to approach someone, and then how to assist them in that moment, and then how to listen non-judgmentally. Believe it or not, people need to sometimes learn that. Then it talks about giving reassurance and information. And it talks specifically about this in the class, which I love. It's information is different than giving advice. And we like to think about giving information as hope with facts. So that's another part of the plan. And then there's the 2 E's at the end is encourage getting help. Maybe you even have to help bring that person to help, stay with them to get to the appropriate help, or maybe just talk to them about self-help strategies and supports and how they can, take steps themselves to feel better. And this process is the ALGEE acronym is a nonlinear process. You may not go in the order of ALGEE, but that's okay. And you might not even use all the steps, but it is a guide for you so you can actually get the person help they need. And this also all surrounds, if you think of ALGEE sort of as a circle, the word assess, because you're constantly assessing what's happening, probably similar with first aid that, Laura, you're constantly assessing the situation. Is it escalating? Is it de-escalating? Or maybe you're assessing it over a day or 2 or 3 to say, how is this person doing? Because you just want to make sure that you are helping them how they need the help right then and there. And then also keeping tabs on them if the situation gets worse, either in the moment or maybe a few days or weeks down the line.
That's really interesting what you said. Hope and facts, not advice. That's a subtle difference, isn't it, Suzanne?
Yeah, that is a subtle difference. Yeah, you might think it's kind of similar, but it's definitely different. And if you can give someone hope, saying, hey, you know what, I'm here for you. There are people that can help you. I'm willing to go that extra mile. I want to help you and bring you to the person that can help you, or I'll stay with you and I'm here supporting you. Because you can recover from a mental health challenge and you can recover from mental health crisis. You just need to get the appropriate help to work through that.
Yeah, that's a lot more helpful probably than you should do XYZ, which some people might react badly to that. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. And that's one of the things we teach during the class is like that word should is one of those things I try to avoid that kind of thing.
How did you get involved in mental health first aid, Suzanne?
So I have worked in nonprofit for 20 years here in Stratford County. This is the third nonprofit I've worked for. It's called Community Partners, as you mentioned in the beginning. And the Community Mental Health Center, I was really hired to do totally different work than I'm doing now for them. But I got involved because the whole mental health part started to really resonate with me. This was pre-pandemic. The opioid crisis was still in full swing and things like that. And people just were hurting. And I just thought we need to do something more about this mental health challenge. Why aren't people talking about it? And then things got a little bit more dicey with me because what happened is in our town, we actually had 3 young boys who died by suicide within a 5-year time frame.
Wow.
And it was really sad. And it not only just for the families, but for the entire community, it was a huge ripple effect. And these 3 boys would have graduated this past June. They were in my son's grade. So he graduated with 3 less kids in his class. And it was really quite devastating over the years. And I just was, as a mom, really kind of scared to death. I'm a very involved parent. I do a lot of things with my kids. I do a lot of things in the community, but I don't know the signs or symptoms of someone in emotional distress. And I'm nervous about my children. I have 3 boys. And so as a mom that's, again, very involved, I emailed the superintendent and I said, Dr. Harbour, would you be willing to meet with me to talk about this mental health stuff? Because I'm just, it's something that's really on my mind. And he graciously agreed to meet with me right away, and was right there on the same page from the start, supportive, saying, yes, we need to do more. We need to do more, not only in the school district, but we really need to do more in the entire community. And so there started the journey of creating this grassroots coalition here in Dover. And we started with 0 budget. And through many partnerships and collaborations, we've been able to, myself, as well as dozens of others, be trained in this curriculum called Mental Health First Aid, as well as the NAMI, New Hampshire Suicide Prevention Training. And the partners we've had are just amazing, and they want to be part of the solution. The police department, the school district, the hospital, Stratford County Public Health Network, UNH, Cooperative Extension, they all want to address this. They want to be part of the solution so that they can help their community, help their constituents, get the support they need, and allowing people to know that mental health is part of overall health. Right? It's not something separate. It's all just part of our overall health, just like physical health. And it's okay not to be okay. But if you're not okay, ask for help, get help. There are resources available. And if we as a community, on a community level, on a layperson level, can be part of the solution, we really might be able to make some headway so that people can feel better and can lead healthier lives regards to their mental health.
Well, and good for you. I mean, these tragedies occurred in your community and you said, okay, let's do something.
Yeah.
So you became a mental health first aid trainer, a suicide prevention trainer. And what's so interesting about what you say, Suzanne, is that I think until people understand mental health first aid, they might think, well, this is a problem for professionals. There's nothing that I can do. But you just said the key word. You said layperson. So what's the sort of evolution when people take this training toward their going from thinking, like a lot of people do, I have to be a mental health therapist or a psychologist, to I can do something, even though I'm, have whatever kind of job?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because this is exactly for people that are lay people. I'm not, if I was to help administer, say, mental health first aid to someone, I'm not diagnosing somebody. I'm just recognizing that something's wrong and getting them to the appropriate help. Much the same with first aid that you've taken for lifeguarding, right? You're not going to set an elbow or someone's broken arm or something like that, but you're going to recognize the initial things you can do to help that person, and then you're going to get them to the appropriate help. Right. So we're not diagnosing people with, that they have this or that or the other thing, because that's not our role. Our role is just to actually get them to the appropriate help. But one thing I think is really important about this training, which really helped me, and I feel others have also expressed this, is that stigma plays a huge role in when people want to or may not want to give help to someone if they're observing or seeing someone that might be having a mental health challenge. And I really think another goal, not only just the steps in helping someone to get help with mental health first aid, but I think it's really a great program to learn how to address your own stigma, how to actually eliminate stigma, because that's one of the biggest barriers for actually someone administering or giving help to somebody else with mental health challenges or a crisis. Oh geez, I want to steer clear of this or that. That's not, anything I can deal with. And I'm going to steer clear of that. Let somebody else take care of that. But really, we all can be part of that solution. And when we learn a little bit more that mental health challenges and mental health illness are a health problem, a health challenge, it starts to put things in a little bit of a different light and allows someone like me or another person in the community that doesn't have all the therapy, background, to then be able to say, all right, I can do something. I can help this person. I'm not afraid of this. This is a health challenge, and we need to get this person to the appropriate professional.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, that when you give someone first aid, no, you're not bandaging up the wound or resetting the elbow, but you are getting that person to the appropriate professional, the appropriate setting. I'm guessing, Suzanne, that you would like everyone in the community to have mental health first aid training, but who especially do you think could use this?
So, yes, you're absolutely right, Laura. In particular, in my community, our goal is to create a mental health friendly community. And one of those ways is to really have as many people trained in mental health first aid as we possibly can. I mean, what comes to mind? Who comes to mind first are definitely teachers. Teachers that are dealing with youth. That would be an amazing group to have fully trained. I also think parents, parents would be fantastic. First responders. Those are definitely people. But I also have to say, I'm doing a lot of work with private businesses as well, because mental health challenges don't stop at the door when you walk into work. People have stresses at work. People oftentimes are hiding potentially some things that are going on with their mental health because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to have their, managers or bosses say, well, they're not really fit or stable to do this, that, or the other thing. So people really, really hide these challenges at work so that they can keep their job, that's why I really like to work with for-profit businesses or nonprofit businesses to say, look at mental health challenges affect us all. You never know what's going to happen in your life. Maybe someone passes away, or maybe, you have a bout with depression or anxiety, but these are real life things that every one of us at some point in our life are dealing with. So I particularly like to work with business people in like HR managers or like the owners of businesses so they can really start to create a health and wellness that includes physical health and mental health within their own policies within their company.
Wow, that's really interesting that private businesses are actually asking you to come in and work on this, kind of busting that open and recognizing that health includes mental health. Have you ever had to use this training yourself, Suzanne? You're very well trained.
That's a great question. And I was thinking about this because we had a conversation about this earlier. And, I haven't had to use mental health first aid in a crisis situation. But you know what? I'm thinking about conversations. I've had some really close friends of mine. And I think that I've probably definitely used some of the things I've learned, like in the allergy action plan. Just becoming a better listener. Sometimes that's all someone needs is to listen. I think as humans, we want to just jump in and help and talk through things and help somebody. But sometimes just being an active listener and offering that hope can really do the trick and help someone feel better. So in that sense, I've definitely probably used it in that way. But I hope I don't ever have to use it in a crisis, but
but you'll be ready.
I feel like I could if I needed to.
How do you see the future of mental health first aid, Suzanne?
That's a big question, Laura.
Yeah.
I just think I would really like it to be part of, we all know about first aid and CPR, right? You take a class, you become certified,
Right.
Again, talking about what you've done as a lifeguard. I would love it if this is viewed and people become certified in it just as readily as they may for CPR and first aid, and that it's not something new and different, shiny over here that only a few people do, but really it's things that it's a curriculum people seek out so that they can be more helpful to their friends, their family, their coworkers, their community.
Do you see it catching on?
I definitely think so. I mean, it's a program that came from Australia. It was developed in Australia in 2000 and it came to the United States in 2008. It's in 25 different countries. But right now here in just Stratford County alone, there's dozens of us that are trained in mental health first aid, dozens trained as trainers, but then hundreds and hundreds now that are actually what we call mental health first aiders that have gone through the class. So my goal is really I would love to have entire school districts trained in this, as well as first responders. And I think that because of a pandemic, although mental health challenges were here well before that, there's a light now being shined more brightly on having really becoming more educated about what mental health challenges are and what we can do as a community to help our fellow community members.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. There were mental health challenges before the pandemic, but we have become more aware of them, and
Yeah.
and that's for the better. Is there one last message you want to leave with our audience, Suzanne, about mental health first aid training, what it can offer, and what it means?
I just think that it's again just what I said about people that learn first aid and CPR. This is one of these things that I think I would love it if people had it within their toolbox. Mental health challenges, as I said earlier, affect all of us, whether we're going through a period of time that's challenging right now, or we might in the future, or we might in the past. These things aren't going away. So if we all can be part of the solution and helping, our family members, our coworkers, our friends, or whatever, then it might actually, in the grand scheme of things, even take down the, let's say, burden. But there are, as we all know, or maybe we don't, there are long wait lists to get in to see therapists, to get in to
Right.
see mental health counselors. And if we can, as a layperson, actually help someone in the moment, they may not feel inclined to go to the emergency room, or may not feel inclined to get on that 3-month wait list. Unfortunately, that is really reality right now with social workers and licensed therapists. We might be able to help that person in the moment so that they can actually take that next step and go on that next day feeling a little bit healthier. But we have to take on that challenge and say, I'm willing to be part of the solution, and I can be part of the solution. So that's one of the things that I think that we as community members just need to invest our time and our effort in.
Well, that's a great way to close out the interview, that we can all be part of the solution. Thank you so much, Suzanne. It's always great to talk to you.
You too, Laura. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thanks also to our engineer, RJ Perkins, and to the Sedora Group of Steward Partners for sponsoring this series. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you'll join us for our next episode. Keep your eyes on this website for more information. I'm Laura Kanoy. Thanks, everyone, for being with us.